With the change in seasons comes a change in our sleeping patterns and habits. Joining us with the benefits of getting your snooze back on track is Dr. William Dawson Jr., pulmonary disease and critical care specialist at Charleston Pulmonary Associates and sleep medicine director at Roper St. Francis. Doctor, it's good to see you again.
Thank you for asking me to be on the show.
Yes, of course. Now, why is good sleep so essential to our health?
It's a biological necessity. For as long as humans have been on the planet, we've needed about 8 hours of sleep every night, and it keys into the light-dark cycle. So as the light cycle gets longer and the dark cycle gets shorter, we have a little bit of adaptation to that. But everybody needs around 8 hours of sleep a night, and one of the things that people do is often with their lifestyle habits get in their own way of getting the necessary sleep they need. Sleep is a biological necessity. Your body is set up to do it every night and will do it if you just let it happen.
Now, I want to talk about the stages of sleep, but while we're on the topic, you say that a good number of hours is about 8 for all of us. But how is it that some people can operate on just a few hours of sleep every night? Are they truly functioning?
About 4% of the population can function on a very limited amount of sleep. But in general, the rule is that the average is about 8, and there's about a 30 or 40-minute shift on either side of that. Some people require 9 hours. Adolescents and young people in college require about 9 hours, and then it gets less. Older people over the age of 70 need maybe 7.5 hours. But the notion that people have that they can get by on very little small amounts of sleep is more likely than not to be wrong.
Right.
And there are cognitive and lifestyle and performance and mental health deficits that occur to people who don't get enough sleep on a chronic basis because they are getting in their own way of sleeping enough and properly enough.
And we'll talk about ways in which you can avoid that, things that you should avoid in order to have a healthy sleep. But let's very quickly, if we can, just go through the very steps of sleep.
So when we first go to bed, for about 5 or 10 minutes, we're in a light stage of sleep that borders on wakefulness. And then we go through about 4 or 5 cycles of sleep, which include dreaming and deep sleep and sleep that's in between that. And everybody does that every night if their sleep is healthy. And shorting yourself on those cycles of sleep that are about 90 to 120 minutes long and repeatedly cycle along is just asking for trouble. If those sleep cycles are interrupted by sleep pathology, such as sleep apnea or insomnia or other disorders people have to have diagnosed medically, then it really wreaks havoc on the system of the body. The body is tuned to the rhythm of sleeping at night and being awake during the day. We usually awaken around sunrise, which was at 6:42 this morning, and we usually can fall asleep around 16, 18 hours later without much trouble when darkness is present.
What are some of the other ways in which one's sleep can get disturbed?
Oh, there are some disorders that take place, but basically, in the evening hours, we're supposed to wind down and get ready to go to bed. It's not like watching a kung fu movie at 9:30 and going to bed at 10 o'clock and expecting your brain just to shut off. It doesn't happen that way. So you need to have a steady bedtime, get up around sunrise. If you want to go to work at 5 or 4, shift your bedtime backwards. Make sure you get around that 8 hour, I'm using 8 hours arbitrarily. Some people may need 8.5, some people may need 7.5 or 7, but your body will take what it needs. If you nap during the day, the sleep will come out of the nighttime sleep cycle and make it shorter.
And other problems people have, restless leg syndrome, but I want to get into sleep apnea, and you actually have a male test for people to test whether they have sleep apnea.
We now have sleep apnea as a breathing disorder during sleep that, there's 20 to 40 million American sufferers from it. It's because the throat relaxes at night and collapses somewhat, causes snoring, and disturbs sleep because of the inability to get enough oxygen and to breathe. Formerly, we had to have people come in for an all-night test to test for that disorder. Now we have a device we can mail to their house. They don't have to come to the office. They get an order for it. Insurance usually pre-certifies it with the proper information, which includes disturbed sleep from snoring and breathing problems. And we can mail that test out. It's downloaded to a smartphone the next morning, sent to us. We interpret it. Their doctor gets a report within a few days and can find out whether you have sleep apnea or not at night, which is a principal cause of poor sleep at night and daytime trouble.
That's amazing. Well, Dr. Dawson, I want to thank you so much for that. We're going to share that information with our viewers. And of course, good sleep means better health, better wellness in our waking hours.
And feeling better and enjoying life better.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing this information.
It's my pleasure.
We're back after this.